Puerto Rican kid, bald head, loves snakes, loves Blizzy, Sergio Chacon.
Yeah. What up, Pa?
Peace. Welcome to the DBS podcast. It's your boy Sergio Chacon, aka Blizzy Chacon. That shit whack.
I mean, it's always gonna be Dirtbag Shit podcast. The DBS podcast.
Yo, I'm a real dirtbag. Who starts a podcast at 7 p.m. when everyone wants to celebrate, like the nurses and doctors? I'm like, yeah, 7 p.m. sounds great.
No, I don't clap. I'm protesting that shit. They're waking my kid up.
Is your kid asleep this early?
Yeah, he gets to sleep this early, so I pay respect. So when he wakes up at 5:45 in the morning, I start clapping outside the window. That's how I do it.
All right, let me make sure I got this recording on. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Right. Curry, come. All right, how you doing, man?
Today, no. Today's all right. Today's an all right day.
What's the matter, bro? First of all, I like the background. You're like in what is it, a tunnel? You're like a mole man.
I'm in a bunker. I'm in my bunker. I got a few different bunker choices. If you like to choose, I can give you options of bunkers. I got
I fucks with this one. It feels good. This one feels good. We'll keep this one.
I got this one too.
bleached out bunker.
I like this one. This one's grimy.
Yeah,
it's a grimy
dope.
bunker.
It looks like it looks like you're in a New York City subway. That's being renovated or something.
Yeah, made like a wrong turn, and and you just don't know how to get out.
Yeah,
and then the mole people come out.
Isn't that crazy?
That's how the quarantine started.
There's mole people. Like, that's a thing. I remember reading an article in National Geographic, like in 1990, and there was like a whole society of mole people. I don't know if they were really in New York. I felt like it was somewhere.
No, New York. There's a book.
It was New York, right?
It's a book called Mole People, and if you and it's I read like half of it, and then I couldn't finish it, but it's about just people who live underneath the grounds in New York City, and they live in the tunnels and somehow survive living underground. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know if the article I was reading was in New York though. The book you read, it was all based on people who live underground in New York.
In New York. Yeah,
it's like after a couple of chapters, I get it. These motherfuckers live underground. How exciting can their life be, right? They're shitting in buckets. Like, I wouldn't have gotten through the book either. It's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, it was like, I understand. They live in, it's done. But I'm sure there are more people all over the place in every city that has some kind of underground transportation,
Exactly.
Exactly.
So, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I've known you for years, Jay, and we always got along. You're my boy, and always easy to talk to and shit. But I was like recently inspired by something that you shared with us. You put together a one-man show, and it was inspired by the tragedy of a friend that you lost. So the reason why I want you on this podcast, as you know, but just for the listeners know, is I want you to share what inspired your one-man show, which, by the way, you've only done one time over, right?
I did a 3-night run of it.
And I was annoyed that I missed that because I was on the road. And then you had another date.
And then Corona bit my ass. Yeah.
So it was inspired by a friend of yours who took his life. Now I want you to tell me in chronological order, like you could share that story, but also how it came into play with you doing the one-man show.
Well, I lost him in 1999. Yeah, 99.
Did Eminem have anything to do with that? Fucking listen to Eminem and shit.
It was video games and Eminem. That's
Remember
what it
when that was
said.
a thing? When everyone was like blaming like school shootings and suicide on like Eminem and video games?
Yeah, Eminem and the game Doom. You know what I mean? Like that's what they were blaming people. Fucking crazy people. Yeah, it was crazy because he's one of those dudes who you would like the best way to describe him is like he's the guy that every girl wanted to be with, and every guy wanted to be like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he was
like
just like
super popular.
He had like the girlfriend who was like the hottest, a year older. You know what I mean? Like he was that guy. He good athlete, funny dude. He can sing. He was smart, like just a well-rounded dude.
Right.
And we were close. And then in college, his junior year of college, beginning, he was like just freaking out about not graduating on time. He was planning to study abroad, and he didn't have credits and this and that. But it's like anything you just freak out about. Didn't think anything of it. And that was the last time I spoke to him. And then a couple weeks went by, and then I was driving home for the Jewish holidays. Got a page when we had pagers. Remember the pagers back then?
Yeah.
And I had a Zach Morris cell phone in the glove compartment. And and then I'm driving home. My buddy's with me, and I get a page from my best friend Ross, and it was like, remember 911, like emergency, like bringing out the Dutch. You know what I mean? Like that was the emergency. And he never like texts 911, and I called him back, and I was like, hey. What's up? And he's like, yo, my friend's name was John Goodstein, and everybody called him Goody. And he's like, yo, I heard something shady about Goody. And I'm like, what? He's like, I heard Goody killed himself. And I was like, that's like a crazy rumor to start. And Goody was like a prankster to the point where he went to like one of those summer programs where they go to like college for the summertime. And he like told everyone he got kicked out and like locked himself in his room for 48 hours. And everyone thought he was gone. And then he like came out and was like, hey guys, like, who does that and wastes 2 days of their summertime to play a prank like that? You know what I mean? Like, just weird.
That's commitment, bro.
Yeah, it's very, very committed. So he did shit like that, and I was like, he's probably just a fucking idiot and starting like a really shitty rumor. And then I hung up, called my dad, and I had like that paper of phone numbers on my wall from like, you know, everyone because back when no cell phones, you needed phone numbers. And I called his girlfriend. She picked up the phone, and she was like, you just knew when she picked up, she was like, like couldn't breathe kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you were just like, so this is real, you know? And then I was like, what's going on? She couldn't talk. And then finally said it. I pulled over to the side of Parkway. My buddy drove me home. And then it was just healing. I don't even know if the healing like ever stops from something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then just like I've always wanted to do stuff. I've always done comedy benefit shows and fundraisers for suicide prevention. We started a scholarship fund at our high school, and I give it out every single year. And I've done AFSP walks and a bunch of stuff, and just trying to spread
awareness.
Awareness for suicide prevention. And then I've always wanted to do something. I thought about writing a book. I thought about I don't know, being a speaker at colleges. Like I thought about a ton of stuff, and I was like, you know what? Why don't I just do a show where I'm in control of it? I can put it out. I think I'm going to put it on YouTube and in its entirety so people can check it out, because who the fuck knows when I can perform anything next, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I was going to put that up, and I'll let you know when it's up there. And then I was like, let me do a show, and I wrote it. Took about 6 months to write it because I had a lot of ideas down through the years just writing.
That's a wild thing to tap back into, because here, you have like 10 years have passed, so now you're revisiting this painful place.
20 years.
Oh, 20 years, my bad. Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't in 2010, it was in 1999. Yeah, 20 years. Jeez, man. So you have to revisit this. Did you have to do a little more research, like on what was the catalyst to him doing that, or did you just kind of go along with how you felt and just spun the show off that? Like, how much of that was required?
I did. At first, I wanted to do a documentary, and I started doing a lot of research into suicide, and a lot of crazy stuff that, like, they used to print a ton of stuff. Freaking, what is the fucking podcast? Because it's a great episode. Everyone should listen to it. I'm sorry.
That's cool.
Freakonomics Radio. And it's an an episode on there about suicide. You can just search in the search thing in there, and you'll find it. And it's really interesting. And I listened to that episode. I doing research online, listening to a bunch of different podcasts, and then I was like, this is too tough to put together a documentary without funding and doing it the right way.
Right.
And then I've had ideas written down about different things I wanted to do with it, just therapeutic. And then you don't know when, how, like why he did it. Like you can spend your life guessing. I mean, there's like, I have like what I don't know, that makes me happy, but will it like I can sit with, I guess.
Right.
I just, everyone has their own belief. Did he make a rash decision? Did he have a chemical imbalance? Was he doing a lot of drugs? Did he have some kind of bipolar disorder, anxiety issue that was never treated, and this and that? Like who the hell knows? We don't know. I mean, there've been instances where I talk about in the One Man Show where the summer before he passed away, we're in my room, like just like smoking a joint, listening to music and stuff like that. And after we're done smoking, he turns to me and he's like, Jay, if I died, would you cry at my funeral? And then I was like, what? And he always used to, like, when he would fuck around, remember Fire Marshal Bill from In Living Color?
Yeah.
So if you
No
like,
upper lip like that.
right. Yeah, so you'd be like, what? And he did the impression, he'd be like, he'd do that. And you're just like, all right, you're just fucking around. And he did that. But and then it's like, I thought about it for a second, but I was like, we're high. He's just being stupid. You know what I mean? Just like, you're young. Like, you just dumb shit comes into your head, and you verbalize it, and never thought anything of it until after he passed. And then I was like, well, was he crying out for help? Was he trying to tell me something? And
like testing the waters or something, like.
Yeah, or just like making a comment where for me to be like, yo, dude, are you okay? Like, I don't know. I used to beat myself up a lot about that. And then I went to see someone, I remember, at school to talk to them. And I went to like one therapy session. They're like, yeah, I think you're good. I was like, huh? All right.
Your school therapy is dirtbag, right?
Dude.
Yeah, the school therapist is like the gym teacher on his day off. He got like a basketball. And he's just like, yeah, so when you look at this basketball, what do you see? Is it weird the way I'm holding it? Like, come on, dude. Like, give me a real therapist here.
Dude, it was just
and the
wild.
thing is, when it comes to like therapy, you gotta do a lot of therapy. That shit doesn't, it's not one session, And the person going for therapy has to really want to do it, because you could easily close off, manipulate the whole situation, and revisiting when you go to therapy, you're revisiting shit that you buried so far down that you don't want to uncover, man. And your personal life, and with something like that, with losing a friend, it's like, yeah, I mean, subconsciously you may feel like, oh, were there signs? Should I have said something? And that's all noise you make in your head. But it's amazing, like, how much work is required.
Dude, I mean, I've been in and out of therapy for like 13, 14 years.
Do you go to the therapist that all the comics go to? There's like a comic therapist.
Nah, I don't. Fuck that. You know what I mean?
Isn't that odd? Like, there's one therapist in New York City.
I know, and then
he got the game on lock. He was like, yeah, man, I'm taking care of all I got all of the cellar under my wing. I got a little bit of Eastville.
Then he
got a monopoly.
Then he retires, and every comic goes fucking ape shit.
Yeah, it's like, and the thing is, I won't mention his name, but I think it's got to be weird when you're in that community of people and you know so much. Like, I think inevitably you become a little biased, and I don't know if he knows more because he's working with a lot of comics. Do you find that strange when someone's specific to that? Not biased, maybe that's not the word I'm looking for.
Right.
More like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, this is my demographic. This is my I don't know. It's just odd.
I'm sure he sees a lot of different people, but I'm definitely, comics probably have a lot of things in common, of like loose ends that, like, that's why we're doing comedy. And it's like, where are your loose ends? Is it your parent issues? Is it your fucking, because in high school you used to get bullied? It's got to be something something has to be slightly wrong with you for us to do this. Yeah. Because there's very few comics who you meet and you're like, oh, so both your parents love each other. You've had a great childhood. You spend every Christmas together. You don't argue. You're not angry. You're always happy. You just love writing jokes and telling them on stage. There's very few comics who are like that, just about that. There's more to it with a lot of people. Like, we all like writing jokes. We like performing. But there's a subconscious reason for us falling into this pit of comedy.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I guess the reason why I question, And and I actually saw that same therapist for a while, and I never had a personal a problem with him. But thinking about it, I'm like, okay, you're in this business, you're inevitably going to talk about people that he knows in the business. He probably works with them as well. That's what makes it weird, I guess. It's almost like a therapist who sees the husband and wife separately. Is that even a thing? You know what I'm saying? It's almost like too much involved in the same relationship. I don't know. But he's killing it, man. I mean, comments talk. They're probably referring this motherfucker. And he probably Googles you and looks up oh yeah, this guy's late night 2 times this year. Let's give him a deal.
He's like, I saw your late night. You mentioned your therapist. That was kind of inaccurate information. Be real with me if you're going to be real on stage, okay? Giving him pointers.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, therapy is, I think, very, very helpful. But I went to that one therapy session at school, and then after that, I started boozing again. I remember one night I lost it and was trying to just fight anyone in the street. And luckily I was with 5 girls who were just he's an idiot and drunk, but it was just one of those, I just spiraled. There's been a few of those, but not recently, but that's a lie. But it's not spiral anger. Are
you angry drunk? Do you get
angry?
No,
not I don't really drink that much anymore. I'm saying there's, I guess, triggers. I was watching a movie or something with my wife, and there was a scene in there where it reminded me of the emotions I felt right when Goody passed.
Right.
And just watching the character go through that, made me I was I think it was a year ago, and I was in my bathroom, sitting on the ground weeping for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I had no clue where it came from. I didn't feel sad. It was just the thing, whatever things in my brain crossed from watching that and brought that subconscious shit up, and it was fucking weird. And that hasn't that thing that happened last year hasn't happened in years.
Yeah, it's weird.
So you just
comes out of nowhere, or it feels like it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, it did come out of nowhere, and then you're sitting there and you're just crying for no reason. You're trying to think about what happened. You're this feeling I have right now is the feeling that I had 19 years ago. So that makes sense.
I had and you probably know him. He was a comic that used to have a room back in 2009, 2010. He was a West Indian comic, dreadlocks. His name is Chris Patrick. Do you remember him? He used to have a room, man. I felt like we worked with him before. Anyway, he had this.
I'm so bad with names, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I'll show you a picture of him. You probably know him. But he used to do when we first started, he would do the Village Ma, which is now the Grizzly Pear. Mm-hmm. And I met him, and this dude was a cool motherfucker. He used to work Sal's Comedy Hole, And then he had this independent room. He had this room uptown, and it was a bunch of Trinidadians. So it was a weird room because we're all from the city doing our spots, and then we went to a very specific demographic, all Trinis, They had their music. It was kind of dope. I always have fun there. He would always get a good a guy that was way more experienced than us. A lot of the times he'll have Michael Blackson or someone to close out the show. And it was at a restaurant. Anyway, this guy, dogs. I had late night talks with him about stand up. He was a cool guy. There wasn't any inkling at all. And then from one moment to the next, I get a call that he took his life, and and the way he did it was so premeditated and orchestrated so well. It's just kind of it's wild. He had time to think about it. It wasn't he sealed up the windows. I mean, this is graphic, but this is what it was. He sealed up the windows with silicone, I believe, locked all the doors, and then just left the oven on. He just kind of gassed himself, And so he went to, and I think he had 2 6-packs, And the funny thing is, at his memorial, his brother said that, he said, yeah, he did all this shit, but he didn't have enough sense to get rid of his porno. All his porno was under the bed. He left you something, man. So this back in the days, right, when DVDs.
He needed stack.
I remember his brother being so pissed off. I was at the phase of mourning that it was I was just sad. But as his brother, I imagine that you and Goody, the relationship was so close that I think the initial response is anger at first, and then it's like acceptance, then sadness, and then, you know, whatever comes after that. But there's got to be phases to it. I felt sad. I never felt angry at him, but I remember his brother was angry. Like at the memorial, he was like, he's selfish. How can he do this to us? And there was a lot of that. And I get goosebumps just thinking about it, because I was like, oh, I can understand how he feels that way. I don't, but I'm not his brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's sad, and it's a very complicated thing. And his brother, you know, had no idea. And it's just a very, very odd, mysterious thing. You know?
Very rarely that you have an inkling. There are times where people show signs, and then you actually help the person, or the person tries it 3-4 times and succeeds on the 5th time. You know what I mean? Like, that shit happens. But the emotions that go through you're angry one second, you're mad the next, you're sad the next, you're confused, you're frustrated, you're just like you know, you feel like you just have no hold on anything. You're like, what's real? You're like, can I be like fully happy again? You know what I mean? Like, you don't wish it on anyone. There's a crazy movie. I'm so bad with titles, but it's about they taped the San Francisco Bridge for a full year, and so many people, it's like the most popular spot to commit suicide. And they show people like literally jumping, and they have stories of people who are, you know, thought about it and were taken down. There's one dude in it who actually jumps and survives. And he had a mental disorder, bipolar, like found that at 20 years old, where he had to be on all these meds and be home and sleeping by 9 o'clock and 9:30, and just all fucked up. And he said, even all fucked up, when he was on that rail and he let go and jumped, he's like, I wish I could have taken it back. It's a first thought. He's like, I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. And he goes on, and he was landing, and he said, I might as well land on my feet. And he landed feet first. I think he broke almost every bone in his body, but able to walk.
Wow.
Survived. But he said, he's like, once my hand left the railing and I was in the air, I said, fuck, I don't want to do this. And it was powerful what he's talking about, because then you're thinking like, well, how many people who do it don't want to do it and have no way out? And like, there's so much shit on suicide that you don't know. Like, it's really being classified as a disease, because people who are heavily depressed, they can't get out of bed. They don't think there's any way out. Like, it's almost like you're on a drug, where it's like you don't know any way out except killing yourself.
Right. And I'm not happy, but I'm glad that you brought up the word depressed, because people are loose with that word. Like, Jay, me and you have bad days, and we're not throwing that word around, I'm fucking depressed. Nah, depression is different, man. I don't think I've ever experienced depression, but I know people, like doing the research, it's what you just explained. You feel like there's no hope. You're not even on drugs. You just some sort of chemical imbalance or whatever, and you feel like there's no hope in the world. There's days we may have, and it doesn't trivialize it. Like, we can have a bad day that really sucks, or a bad week, or we lose somebody.
You could feel depressed. You could feel depressed. You could have
depression, but I'm talking about people who suffer from depression.
No, the kind of depression where you're suicidal is a different level of depression that no one's ever felt before.
So it's like one of those things that I've heard time and time again, and people have shared. And it's almost like that word that I'm very careful to use. Like, for myself, I'm never like, oh man, like I was late, you know, whatever. I missed 2 gigs this week. I'm fucking depressed. Like, I'm very careful with that word, because it's a real, like, people who suffer from it. I mean, it's just that, man. They feel like there's no hope. And I imagine that someone who's going through that, they might be beating themselves up. Like, what is wrong with me? You know what I'm saying? Like, anytime I felt like really sad, I knew what to go to. I knew what to point the finger to. Like, it was usually my own doing. I knew what actions I took to make me feel shitty. And a lot of times it was a nasty hangover, you know, whether it be from drinking or drugs. It was always something that I could point the finger to. Like, and I knew what the problem was. You know, how I was gonna handle that problem was another thing. But imagine just feeling a certain way, so dark, and trying to uncover those layers and not really knowing what it is. I would imagine That is
also not knowing what to do. Like people are like, yo, just get out of bed. You're like, I can't. Like, oh, turn on this, watch this show. It's a happy TV show. Dude, go out for a walk, exercise. But it's like you can't do anything.
So like looking down memory lane, you know, there was never any signs of with Goody. I mean, he's an athlete too. You would imagine, like, you know, that sort of movement and being, you know, a dude who uses mind and body. Yeah, like I feel like they're furthest from that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he was into a lot of drugs. I know people would drive him. He went to University of Arizona. They would drive down to Mexico, pick up a lot of pills and stuff. I know he has done that. I didn't know if he was doing it more than he told me he was. I don't know if he was doing it and eating a lot of it and not really and not selling some, or, you know, be giving it to his fraternity. Like, I don't know, clue. You know what I mean? Like, and there's a lot of stuff where you just there's the unknown. Have you ever felt like that was a question in your mind, like from getting too fucked up, or did you like losing somebody that thought ever crossed your mind, like suicide? I mean, I think like serious suicide, no, but I think like everyone has that thought when you're on top of a building and you're like, yeah, I could just jump right now. You know what I mean? Like everyone, like when you're like in Vegas or something, and you're like, I can just fucking just jump over this balcony and freak the fuck out of everyone and just die. You know what I mean? Like that, those thoughts like come to your head, but I'm never like thinking about ending myself. Like there are times where you just like sit like on a height and you're just like, yo, I could totally. But I think that's like a normal thing to think, I hope.
You're thinking about it from the perspective like, yeah, if I kill myself, but I still have the spirit to see like people's responses, that'd be kind of cool. But I want to come back. I don't want to do that for too long.
Yeah, it was just like, it's like not wanting to do it, but just like, I can do this. Like I have the free will right now to do that, but it's the point of the people who think it versus the people who do it. I think you get so mad, you just like, I wish I wasn't here right now, but you don't really mean it. You just wish like whatever is happening in your life would just end and you can be away from it. But permanent ending it is, I think you're in a totally different mindset. But then there was something floating around on Facebook where this kid like committed suicide, and it was because like, I don't know, he broke this toy that his dad got him, and then he saved his money and broke it again, and I think he felt guilty, and it was his birthday coming up, and the kid just made he didn't want to get in trouble, made a dumb decision and end up hanging himself, and his like sister walked in on it. Like this shit happens all the time where it's like, I think just kids' permanency doesn't really register with, like, doesn't resonate with children sometimes. I think especially this day and age where I think, I'm not blaming video games, but like kids play so much virtual stuff where it's not real life, where you're not like, every day I'd be at the park running where it's like, if you fell, you knew you get hurt. Like it was more human connection, and now there's less human connection where I feel like some things don't feel as real as when you're with people all the time. I don't know if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying.
Maybe I'm not verbalizing it right, but I'm just saying, if you're behind the screen,
I know exactly what you mean. It's very clear what you're saying.
Is fake. Yeah. So I don't know.
It is conditioning us in a certain way. You become desensitized to stuff, you know? I mean, just the way we receive information is very like choppy. It's less than a minute. It's, you know, it's instant gratification, you know, it's like of the most morbid shit too, you know, like it'd be like a street fight, press the button. I remember, listen, if I wanted to see some gore, if I wanted to see someone's head get popped off by a train, or someone being tortured by like two horses, like, you know, they tied
check out my website.
Yeah, check out my website. Like, I remember it was like two horses tied up to the limbs of a guy, and two horses and the legs, and they went the opposite way. And this was
watch that?
What was that? I watched it, but you know what kind of work it required? It required me going to Blockbuster Video, renting a thing called Faces of Death.
Faces of Death, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, I was curious, but now all this stuff is at your immediate disposal, like at a click of a button. And I'm not saying it's the cost, everything, but it just makes things easier. So if you're able to receive that stuff that quickly, I think eventually you can become desensitized. So match that up.
100%.
Yeah,
Like I remember I saw a beheading video once, and I'm like, I am never watching any of these ever again. Like it like scarred me. But kids at a young age, you have a kid, I have a young kid, like bringing them up now with all the social media and internet. And I keep telling them, like my kid will not see a smartphone until he's done with high school. I was like, you're crazy. Never gonna happen. I'm like, no, he'll have a Walter White burner, and like that's one thing I will stick to. Like when he's 18, he's an adult. Like, hey, hopefully I raised you right where you will be like, all right, I'll use my phone here and there. You know what I mean? But like the way we are, and we got these as an adult. If he got a cell phone as a kid, like I never let him hold my phone if he's FaceTiming ever. Like we try not to let him touch the phone. Like it's just it desensitizes everything. Kids have so much. You want to see porn? Yes, I'm 18. You know, kids see.
I know it required so much more work. I remember if I wanted to watch porn, it was on cable sometimes, but you had to be real quick with the remote. It had to be a certain time slot. Like there was a whole system. You had like 2 pillows. You know, like you had to get like a defensive boxing posture, you know, and that's how we watched porn. And it was like commercial porn. It wasn't even like, you know, and then like when you got older.
You couldn't get it at your fingertips. Like you said before, you had to work for it. You had to find it.
That's what
now kids can get it so easily.
So easy. I mean, and even when I was of age, getting it, I would have to go to a DVD store, like in some CD place on the West Side, right? I would wear like a hoodie, and it was like a whole thing. I had to do certain like actions had to be made. Now we're just like and everything is just like right in front of you. It's fucking nuts.
Everything is easy these days. That's why. Yeah, I mean, it just trickles downward. That's why kids don't want internships, because everything is easy. Because you see your friend becomes a YouTube star by posting videos of them fake falling all the time. You know, I mean, like
it's just the family values have to be instilled, and it's just got to be a balance. It's got to be a balance. But I mean, listen, man.
You don't work for anything, though. Yeah. You want to do a report? When we were younger, you went to the library. You took out books. You read shit. You had to look at magazines. You had to actually write things down. Now I go to Google, type in Abraham Lincoln. It's like, what am I going to copy and paste and then put in my own words?
Yeah, and also when you do that shit, you don't remember it as much because you're not reading it. Like you're just kind of skimming through it.
Yeah, it just comes easy. That's why kids have no patience. That's why everything has to come like this. And even us were affected by it.
Do you feel so that was your writing about Goody when that was your first project that you did? I know you've had like various projects comedy wise or whatever, but this is like the first thing you did that had such a serious tone, right?
Yeah, it was
done relatively like recent. I mean, it's like the past year. So all this time goes by. I want to go back to revisiting that. Did you see his family? Did you go, did you talk to his family? Did you get consent from the family? What was that?
No, his parents, I last spoke to them more than 10 years ago. It was probably tough for them. They used to come to a few fundraisers, and then one time during a fundraiser, Attell was doing it, and it was when Attell was still drinking. The first words when Attell walks on stage was like, if you're going to commit suicide, make sure you capture it on YouTube so everyone can enjoy it. And I'm just like, oh my God. And his parents were there, and I think like 1 or 2 after that, his parents stopped coming. His sister, I've been in touch with. His sister came we did a benefit show 2 years ago.
Attell knew it was a benefit for suicide.
Yeah, but I think Attell was in the Attell days of drinking heavily, and he just, you know what I mean? Like, and that was really.
You hear these things, and it is a roll of the dice. I mean, that's a tough one, though. That's a tough one, man. I mean, that
only happened once.
Yeah.
You know, that only happened once where a comic did that. And then he like literally, he was wasted. I remember he was like, I'm going to do like 10 minutes. He did like 35 minutes or something like that. And was
Did
doing
you
like
book
really
him,
dark
or
stuff.
he was just on the show?
No,
you
he was.
happened to be on?
It was when we did like comics one year. Remember comics back on 14th Street?
Yeah.
And
Beautiful club.
yeah, and I remember like the show was like we had the lineup, but then him and Kurt Metzger I had on the show,
Oh.
and then he rolled in with a tell.
Was Kurt just as wild?
Kurt was fine. I mean, Kurt has his crazy material, but he wasn't going to bash suicide, you know. And
Yeah.
But then that tells like, you know, I'm like, you want to do, and he was doing like 5 minutes or 7 minutes. He ended up doing like 30 or something like that.
Holy
you know.
shit.
So it was.
Did he recover from that opening joke?
I mean, he's Dave Attell, so I mean, he doesn't, you know, even if he didn't, if the room could be totally quiet, he'd treat it like it was fucking crushing. You know what I mean? So he was just whatever it was. But his parents, as the years went by, stopped talking. But then last year, when I was taking donations online and stuff like that for the benefit show, they actually donated. So I think it's probably tough for them to see and hear me, but they donated. His sister I've spoken to a couple of times. She came out to the benefit show with some of her high school friends who knew John, so that was kind of cool. And but I told her about the one-man show. I didn't tell his parents, but I told her, and I said, hey, I'm doing this show, just want you to know it might be really hard for you to go to it, but you're more than invited. Let me know. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that I'm doing this show. And I never heard back from her of it, but I know she read it. And I messaged her about something like a couple of weeks ago, and she got right back to me. So I guess she understood. I mean, everyone deals with everything in a certain way. I'm an artist. I'm a comedian, and I always wanted to do something with it. And it was one of, I think it was one of the most rewarding things I've done in stand up, and I've worked with a lot of cool people and done some cool gigs. And
were you able to find like comic relief in it, or was it pretty much a drama? And how long is it?
I think it was about 45, 50 minutes, depending on how much I let it breathe and stuff.
Right.
But it was multimedia. There's videos throughout it.
Okay.
I went to before I started rehearsing, I went to visit his grave, and I haven't been to his grave in about 5 years. And I had a videographer document me driving and going to the grave, and just kept it real, and you know, and I chopped that up. That took a really long time to edit. I probably had that in my computer for about a month before I edited that, and then I edited that into like a short film that plays throughout the one-man show. And it was tough to do some parts. I think it was really tough to get emotionally to some of the parts, but then there were also like good memories throughout the show, where if you have it all dark and depressing, it's you know, you got to have some balance. So it was powerful. It was my journey mentally and emotionally. And then plus I shared some stories where you got to kind of meet Goody a little bit through my stories. And at the end,
that's awesome.
There's like a little slideshow where you see some photos and things like that. So it's, everyone who saw it, it was one of the only projects where, you know how you see, like if you're about to do a special, or you're going to, I don't know, you shoot a sketch, and how you picture it in your head before you shoot it, before you do the project, and then afterwards you're like, it seemed funnier in my head, or it seemed about 95% of what I saw in my head and how I saw the show going to be, and how I saw everyone going to, what they're going to take away from it, and what impact it was going to have on everyone. It was the closest thing ever to a project that I saw what I thought was going to be. It actually became.
Wow.
And that was pretty neat.
Wow.
That was that's why I think it was the most rewarding thing. And it also, it's so close and dear to my heart, where it means so much to me. And for a project that means so much to you, to be one of the only ones that you picture it how it is, you write it, you rehearse it, you perform it, and then afterwards you're done, you take a step back and you're like, that was everything I wanted it to be. And everyone who saw it, that's exactly how I want them to feel afterwards. So it was cool.
Did you need direction, like as far as like doing a one-man show? I mean, you have a
Yeah, I had a director.
He's in stand-up.
Yeah.
I would imagine, like,
It's a different
even
animal.
When you position your body, when you pause, all of it kind of contradicts stand-up a little bit. So, like, did you get someone who was familiar with that sort of thing, and then they guide you, they walk you along the way?
Yeah, the similarity I felt with the one-man show and stand-up is that you had to be in the moment for each. And that was it's easier when you're telling jokes to be in a moment trying to make people laugh versus talking about death or talking about being at a funeral and stuff like that where you have to live that moment over again. So that was a similarity, but it was tougher in the one-man show. My wife's best friend's boyfriend has a history of being a theater director.
Oh, dope.
And I asked him to come do it, and I said, I was honest with him. I said, I don't have a huge budget.
I think I met him when me and you were
when we saw Troy Allen's show.
Yes, which he had a great show. Troy Allen had a great show.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy for you, for Troy, for Nikki Sunshine, all of which support each other and have been doing stand-up together for years. You know, kind of breaking out and doing these things, which I am really impressed and proud of. You know, like, I really encourage you guys to continue doing it because it's just fucking awesome. Troy's show was amazing. I mean, talking about his father.
It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, Nick, I haven't seen yours yet, but Nikki told me she saw yours and that it was great. And I'm just, like, really happy to hear that you're able to pull something like this off. And it's bigger than you. It's like just the raising awareness for something that's so, you know, I wouldn't say it's shunned, but it doesn't get the light it deserves because there's an oxymoron. Ironically, it's so dark that it doesn't really get that light, you know? And I think it's so misunderstood, too.
Well, I talk about that. Yeah, no, I talk about it in the show where it's crazy where like a celebrity will commit suicide and the stories afterwards are never run about mental health or depression. They just try to interview all their famous friends and they usually dig up whatever dirt or weird shit they can on the person. And then the following stories are never about mental health or depression or anything like that, which is strange because, like, if someone, let's say, drives their car into a lake, then the next news story is going to be like, if your car ever gets submerged underwater, this is how to escape. And then they teach you how to escape your car if it ever gets underwater, you know? So they'll do that and they teach you how to get out of your car if it ever goes into a fucking lake, or the odds of that happening unless you're fucking an idiot. But if, you know, mental health and depression, it's just not talked about in public. And it's where I was telling you that the things I read in that podcast where they used to put suicides in the newspaper. And then what would happen is that the suicide rate was increasing when people would read about it. And they thought it was correlated to people reading about it and seeing it and then saying, oh, well, I can do that too. And then the suicide rate would go up. So then they stopped printing suicides in the paper. There's interesting facts about the suicide rate is like over 2 or 3 times the homicide rate in our country. It's usually men. Men are more likely to commit suicide. There are certain cities that have a higher suicide rate than others, certain months, and then they talk about where it's some of these Amazon tribes where some guys there talking about suicide, and they're like, you mean you would take your own life? Like, they laughed at it. Like, what are you, an idiot? Because, like, it's there's so much that goes into it, and it sucks that we're not going to get to the bottom of it for a long time because no one talks about it. It's still taboo in our society. People will talk about depression, but it's usually related to like a drug company or something to help you with the depression that I'm going to give you.
Yeah.
Mental health and therapy, it's talked about on like a surface level, but it's really, I'm going to put my thing on YouTube. I'm going to put like the whole show on YouTube and like fully edit it and blast that on Facebook and stuff like that. And I think, right now with the quarantine, maybe people will check it out. And, I'm sure, I just don't want people to feel alone where it's like, yeah, these are normal thoughts, but,
Right.
just, get help. Like I'm going back to therapy tomorrow night. I'm seeing my therapist who I haven't seen in a while because this quarantine shit's affecting me and just everything on top of each other. You know, my kid, where you're just thinking about your child, like a young kid, not seeing their friends, not seeing other family members except through a fucking phone, and then just seeing you, like what kind of impacts having on your child. I think about every day.
I really don't think it has an impact on kids like that. I think they're so oblivious. I mean, they're taking the information, but I think with kids, it definitely comes down to the energy we put on them. Like if I'm like walking around like, oh, stressed out, they're gonna retain that information. They're gonna be like a sponge to that. But I don't think they're directly, you know.
But when you're outside, right? So I'm telling my kid I'm playing soccer, and then these people start walking by close. I'm like, let's move away. Like he understands 6 feet. Like people get close, he goes 6 feet. Like he'll scream at them. Like that's fucking crazy, you know. Like, and the thing is, like that's where it is. Like home, we're playing, we're having fun. You know, like everything's. But when you go outside, you're wearing a face mask. That's not normal. You see other people with face masks. That's not normal. People with gloves on. You know, where you can't have children go near you. The playgrounds are shut off. So like you don't think that's affecting them, but it's definitely affecting them. And you're not inside their brain and what they're thinking about. You could still say like everything's gonna be fine. Like my kid for a few days is telling me he's nervous. And then I'm telling him and then the other day he's like, Daddy, I'm not nervous anymore. It made me feel really happy because but it's like that. I know this short term is not going to affect them, but that's the thing about this thing right now. It's the unknown. No one knows shit. No one knows me for the next 3 years. If they told us 3 years right now, there'd be anarchy and riots. But if they told us 3 years in doses of 8 weeks and 12 weeks, I think we ought to do it. You know?
Right. Yeah. I'm actually shit. I'm enjoying this time off. This is like the fourth time I said it. And because maybe it's so early on, but I am not, the fact that you had me host your son's birthday party, Zoo, the fact that you asked me, Serge, can we Zoom on Friday at 9 a.m. because I want my son to see some animals. Man, I couldn't sleep the night before. I was lying in bed like, oh, what time is it? 4 a.m.? God damn. I was so excited to show off my reptiles. He lost. He's 3 years old though, man. He's a baby boy, so they lose interest quick. I was alone on the screen with the snake, like, Sarah, look.
Now he was there. He was sitting on my lap the whole time. He liked it. He was talking about the snakes all day.
So if you ever feel like you guys are getting a little, you're thinking about it too much, just get a bunch of illegal animals, Jay, and it keep you occupied. You're worried about the police busting in and taking your mildly venomous snakes.
And snakes can happen. Tiger cubs will happen before snakes.
So I interviewed this guy. He's a big reptile enthusiast. He owns his own reptile zoo out in Michigan. And he was telling me that all those guys in Tiger King, he knows all these guys personally. So like the animal community, they're very tight-knitted, right? But in the first episode, I don't know, have you seen Tiger King?
Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing.
The first episode, they have this big-ass snake.
Yeah, the reptile show, that whole reptile show.
So that guy who owns that snake, his name is Tom Crutchfield. The whole doc series was supposed to be on him because he was arrested years ago for trading and smuggling illegal animals from like Madagascar.
He had like a rattlesnake up his asshole, like that kind of guy. Like dudes in jail and Rikers, they'll boof like a razor blade. He was boofing like Madagascar bolas. But so I know this guy. His name is Tom Crutchfield. So his story is very colorful. Importing illegal animals. He actually, in self-defense, he killed one of his partners on a reptile farm that he owns. Like, it's a wild story. A story that lends itself to a doc series like Tiger King. So don't be surprised in another 2 years or so, we're going to see something called Python King or something. Right.
Because it was actually supposed to be about him. But then when they met the cat people, it just took another turn.
Yeah, those people who have venomous animals, I don't want to go near them, but they really intrigue me. It's like you have something that could kill you in a split second if you're off your game.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild shit. Like, my favorite scene in almost every movie is it was a Kill Bill 1 or 2 where where the black mamba was in the suitcase.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a crazy way to take someone out.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, that's wild.
And then reading
the
the venom, she's like, and then you should feel your veins tightening up as you know. And just
Oh
reading
yeah,
what all the
yeah.
venom
Everything's
does.
going on. Oh,
Yeah,
fucking. I love Kill Bill movies. So much fun.
yeah.
But you
that's
know,
fucking
like
nuts.
these animals are not hard to acquire. That's wild. When
Those
you think
reptile
about
shows, they have illegal. The reptile shows have like poisonous animals all over the place, right?
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
this is the thing. Not that I'm saying anyone should be doing it, but you can go on the website, look up venomous animals for sale. They usually field collected, which means they're not captive bred. So if you get the field a field collected animal, a rattlesnake, a copperhead, $25, $30, right? Something like a viper or something like that, go up to like 300, whatever. Obviously, they're not going to ship that to New York. But what you can do is, it's legal in Florida. You get it in Florida, you pick up the snake, and then you could drive back to New York. And
Florida has snake problems, right? They're releasing all these boas and pythons that are
like
eating
in
people's
2004,
dogs and shit.
in early 2000, there was Hurricane Andrew. There was a breeding facility. It knocked that shit off it knocked that shit out. And a lot of Burmese pythons are now in the Everglades. That's part, and they consider them an invasive species because they eat everything. And that is their climate. It's humid, it's warm, lots of places to hide. And they are like terrorizing all of the animals out there. Like they just lay low. The females lay up to like anywhere from 30 to 90 eggs.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and they can't keep up. There's no way to like knock it out. They're hiring dudes.
Yeah,
like,
that TV show. What is it, Snake Hunters or something?
Yeah,
I've watched that a few
it's like
times.
you
Great.
can't. These guys, those snakes are too elusive. One guy, like a champion, got like 100 snakes in a year. One female can lay almost 100 eggs. Like you're not making a dent in this shit. I mean, there's a lot of invasive species. It's the thing to talk about now because it's so sensational. But it is kind of sad if you think about it. Like if they do eat everything out there, it's like, what the fuck happens, But
well, I mean, alligators are learning how to climb fences out in Florida and shit. It's hard as fucked up state.
But Florida always has a warm place in my heart. You know why? Because it's like the only state that's like a tropical. It's like a tropical island. Isn't that crazy? No other state.
Humid, yeah, it's true.
It's like Puerto Rico in that sense. It's like any of our Caribbean neighboring islands, near there. It's like Cuba, got that feel, right? But I also have a closeness to my heart because my father lived there. And I was introduced to a lot of animals as a kid, visiting him. So maybe it's filling in some void there, but no doubt about it, Florida is a dirtbag state. Like it's the super
100%.
dirtbag state. It is. You can go down the block at a strip mall. You can get a massage for like $20 from some like immigrant who's been fucking smuggled in. 2 blocks down, you can go get yourself some pills that are like get you high, and you could say they're for medical purposes, that everyone is just trying to get high. And then you could grab a gun and shoot anybody in the name of like, I'm defending myself. It's a super dirtbag state.
And then pick up 3 rattlesnakes on the way out.
And then pick up 3 rattlesnakes before you exit. Exactly.
Yeah, Florida. I used to go down there a lot when I was a little kid. My grandparents lived down there, so I like Florida too. But I think Florida, when you're a young kid versus Florida, you're an adult, are different experiences.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we tie in alligators. We tie in Mickey Mouse. We tie in our grandparents. But then you go there as an adult, and it's very much. It's a very racist. It's still very like, especially like northern Florida, like. Those places are sketchy, man. Scary.
Everywhere, dude. Like when you drive, you don't roll down your window and curse at anyone. You just be like, all right, let that guy cut me off. It's totally cool. You don't know who is packing down there.
There's a lot of that shit going on. South of Florida, there's a lot of drugs and crime. But I still, it got that, a checkered past to it. But I fucks with Florida. I don't think I'll ever want to live there, but I like to visit every now and then.
You ever see Cocaine Cowboys?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good flick.
Yeah.
Florida,
and maybe that's why I'm intrigued by it too, because even though I don't do any of that shit anymore, I like to talk about it. And I like to see it from afar. So like this, you saying that, I gotta take a shit now. I'm like, ooh, you know, like that's the thing. That's the way my mind works. Like I don't do it anymore, but my palms got sweaty, and then I gotta take a shit.
There you go. Your stomach started churning. Funny.
Yeah, man. Yo, Jay, I appreciate you sharing, brother. I mean,
yeah, man.
I think it's phenomenal.
Man.
I can't that you did this one man show, and I hope to see it very soon. So let me know how
yeah, I'll let you know when
plug that in.
Yeah, when I edit it, I'll let you know, and I'll like share it, and you can just tell people check out your page or whatever it is, and
dope.
Yeah, I'll throw it up there for sure.
While I'm in pause, like you and so many others, we're being creative virtually. So I'm like 5 episodes ahead. So this might drop close to like 4 or 5 weeks. Maybe by then the editing is done, and then we can tie in the link or whatever.
That's cool. Yeah, let me know before it goes up, and if I have a YouTube link, I'll send it over to you for sure.
All right, man. I appreciate your time, my brother.
Yeah,
have a good time
man.
this evening. Some peace and quiet. I'm sure baby boy is asleep. Happy birthday to him once again, even though his birthday was Friday.
Yes.
Tell Sarah I said hello, and have a great evening, brother.
Yeah, same to you, man. Much love, and thanks for having me on, dude.
My pleasure, man. I'll see you soon, man.
Yes, sir. Be good, dude.